opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Shaw Cable Systems or of the station. Through our access policy, we provide the opportunity for community groups and individuals to express their points of view.
Hi everybody and welcome to episode 5 of The Huddle, community created here on Shaw TV. I'm Scott Taylor, this is John Mackey, my co-host, who has a pretty easy week this week because you've been coaching too much.
Yeah.
Spending too much time coaching that football team.
Too much on the gridiron.
You got to get them winning.
Yeah,
got to get them winning. Good show today. We got Clyde Raven coming in from Raven's Customs Keepsakes.
Yeah, I've seen his work.
His work's tremendous, but I got to get all the S's in. I never get enough S's in. Dave Donaldson, former player, now referee, coming in for today's show. Brian Dobie, the man you work for at the University of Manitoba, the head coach of the Bisons.
Yep.
Always got something to say.
Always. Long-winded.
Tremendous. No, I wouldn't say long-winded. I would say tremendous conversationalist. How's that work?
That works better.
Work better.
That's a better word.
Tannis Wilson's coming in to talk about women's football, and Nic Demski, you're running back, one of the three-headed monster guys, coming in for today's show. We got a packed show. John, we're going to get right at it. Right after this, we're going to come back and we're going to talk football, as we always do on The Huddle here on Shaw TV.
Hi, I'm Buck Pierce, and I love Winnipeg. That's why I support United Way. Together we can make our city safer and stronger. Every dollar of your donation goes straight into the community and none to fundraising and administration. Please join me. Get in the game and give today.
Welcome back to The Huddle, community created here on Shaw TV. We have a very special guest to start the show this week, and I remember him when he actually played football. Now he has to officiate it, so we all have a cross to bear, don't we, David?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Dave Donaldson is our guest, and Dave, you played a long time, 10 years, 12 years?
You know,
CFL?
Scott, I played for 10 seasons in the CFL.
Yeah.
I was an undrafted free agent out of University of Manitoba, went and played for BC for 3 years, signed as a free agent with Winnipeg, played here for 4 years. We had a great team, played with Milt Stiegel, numerous other great players like Charles Roberts, ended up playing in Ottawa, and then finished my career off in Toronto. 10 seasons.
So 10 seasons as a player, and now you've gone to the dark side. You have decided to be an official, and from what I understand from everybody I've talked to, you've taken to it, you enjoy it, you do it well. Do you like the new rule?
Well, you know, when players retire from football, you know, I played football for such a long time, Scott. It was part of my life, major part of my life. So what I decided to do is stay part of football, and I decided to try reffing only because no one else seemed to want to try it, so I figured, why not? What was wrong with it? And I'll tell you what, very stressful.
Yes.
Very stressful, but I'm able to stay on the field, and I think that's the big part. I'm part of the game.
Tell us about your transition from football to refereeing at the minor levels to now in the Canadian Football League.
Well, you know what, for anyone who wants to be an official, I did it like anyone else could. I started in the MFOA, which is our local association, and I started doing minor games, so high school games, Pee-wee, Bantam, Midget. I worked my way up from a level 1 to a level 3 referee certificate, which means I'm allowed to do college games as well, university games. Now I'm doing junior games, and it's been 6 seasons, so I had to wait 6 years and pay my dues before I even had an opportunity to do CFL games.
But don't you think you've come a long way in a very short time? I mean, 6 years to get back to the Canadian Football League, I'd say is pretty remarkable.
You know what? I'm very privileged, very lucky, but I can't take away the 10 years that I played. To be an official, you got to be young. So, you know, for kids that are watching this, you know, if football isn't for you as a player, as you go on in life, start earlier so that when you get a chance to become an official, you give yourself time to grow, because it does take a long time to be an official. And yeah, you probably cut mine in half. Probably 12 years it should have took me to get there, and I'm very grateful.
But you did have the experience as a player, which does help, obviously.
You know,
in terms of positioning, in terms of signals, in terms of understanding the game.
Well, you know, rules and mechanics, anyone can do that. Just grab the book, read it, learn the mechanics. But there's judgment that's part of the game as well. And I think through playing the game, I have a bit of judgment, at least at my position. I used to hold a lot. I was a defensive player. So, you know, those little nuances, right? if there's an infraction that's not part of the play, if the grandmother in the stands doesn't see it, you don't want to make that call, right? If she does, then you might want to make that call. So those are things that are judgment calls, and it's not in the rule book. And I think that's kind of helped me out to this point.
Things go on down on the field, and we've played the game. We know what we say to the referees from time to time. But the Canadian Football League, nobody really gets that feeling. I mean, you watch minor football in Manitoba, you know what people are saying to Dave Donaldson.
No, yeah.
But in the Canadian Football League, it's a little different. Any highlights from your experiences this season in the CFL?
Well, you know, I did half the season in the CFL, so I did 7 games up until Labor Day. And there's a notable game. There's 2 notable games. One game, a coach, I won't name his name, he yelled at me, "You played 10 years in the CFL and you still don't know any of the rules." So you know you gotta laugh.
Well, you were a defensive back,
right? But
there are no rules back there.
I'll tell you what, though, the most notable was a quarterback in Calgary. It was in the game.
It wasn't Kevin Glenn.
No, it wasn't, and it wasn't Kevin Glenn. Yeah, and his remark was, "Us referees should take our uniforms back to Foot Locker." Because
that's pretty good.
So you know that was kind of funny. You know. So you hear it all.
This year, we're going to have Dave Donaldson regularly on our show to do Ask the Ref, and we're going to start in our next segment, our next program, with Dave Donaldson's own personal segment called Ask the Ref. We want you to send in questions. Send it to the Huddle, send it to Football Manitoba, send the questions to Shaw TV if you'd like, but send the questions to us that you want to ask Dave Donaldson about officiating, not just in minor football, but also in the Canadian Football League, and we'll try to answer those questions as the season goes along. We also want to talk to you about your power football clinics and the fact that you also help kids get to universities in the United States. There's lots of things that you do around football that just isn't refereeing.
Oh, absolutely. But most notable right now is as football playoffs come and championship weekend is
right around the corner.
We have a camp that comes every January, an annual camp called the Premier Football Factory Skills Camp, Winter Skills Camp. It's an opportunity for me to get the football coaching fix out of me because I don't coach football. And I'm able to get all my buddies together. We fly in guys like Kahari Jones in the past to coach quarterbacks. We've had Buck Pierce coach at our camps as a quarterbacks coach. Lamar McGriggs is always a guy that's there at our camps who's a great linebackers coach. The camp runs from January 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at the Winnipeg Soccer Federation over on Chancellor Drive. Chancellor Matheson, I believe it is. Yep. You can register at premierfootballfactory.com, and I think it's a great camp for kids that are 9 to 13, and then kids from 14 to 18, helmet, shoulder pads, and cleats.
That's all you need.
Yep.
Thanks, David. We're going to see David as the season goes along here on the Huddle, and David will help us also on thehuddle.co, and he'll be on tomorrow on the Huddle radio show. So we've got David around a lot as this season goes along. Dave Donaldson, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
When we come back, we're going to talk to some young women about playing women's football, and there's nothing better. There's no more fun to watch than the Fearless, and I'm sure you're going to be doing those games too. We'll be back after this on the Huddle.
What makes us human?
I think it's our ability to be kind.
Being human? It's about caring.
Being generous.
Showing compassion.
Some of the animals who provide our food spend most of their life in cages so small they can barely move.
Being human means treating others well,
no matter who they are.
Help encourage the food industry to find a better way. Visit humanefood.ca.
It's the Huddle on Shaw TV. I'm Scott Taylor, and this is Clyde Raven, and these things are spectacular. And I am just going to let Clyde explain to us exactly what these are, because I can't put them into words. I love the Peyton Manning so much, I want to steal it before we leave. Clyde, thanks for joining us. Tell us what you do.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us, Scott. It's a pleasure to be here. Raven's Custom Keepsakes is the name of the business, so my wife and I run it. We're just into business about 1.5 years. It's kind of the retirement position for myself. And what we do is 2 very distinct different things. We do custom hand-painted sports figures, and we do memorabilia packages. Just to explain on those, any athlete we can recreate in a similar package that you see here.
Hang on, let me see if I can get a shot of this right here. This is very cool. It's an autographed Peyton Manning. It doesn't get any cooler than that.
They do turn out nice. Our products are very unique. They make wonderful gifts, and the gamut goes from Christmas, birthdays. How about your amateur athlete that's finishing a high school football career?
Yeah.
How about your university player who's winding up? Unfortunately, he's not moving on to the professional level. Keepsakes is the name, and it's something to remember a sports career. All of us that have played sports, our sports careers are very important to us, very fond memories, and we think there's no better way to capture those memories than do up a keepsake.
It's great for collectors, isn't it?
You know what? It's wonderful. So again, the memorabilia packages, we can bring in autographed memorabilia. Peyton Manning is autographed here. We've got the Buck Pierce, which is going to be a lovely prize at the 13th Man Dinner.
At the 13th Man Dinner, yes. We got to talk more about that as well.
Yes, we're gonna get Buck to sign that, so it's going to make it a very valuable piece. And for sure, you know, we've got people who buy them. We've got athletes themselves winding up a career. They want it as a memory, but wives are buying them for husbands, grandparents are buying them for the grandkids. And like I say, the other thing is mentioned the 13 Man, they make awesome silent auction prizes. If you want to do a fundraiser, people love their sports memorabilia. So, you know, give us a call. We have a website, we have a phone number, and people can get a hold of us. We're looking at a 4 to 6 week turnaround as far as producing one of these.
It's www.ravenscustomskeepsakes, you'll see it there on the screen.com, 204-257-4240. And the 13th Man Dinner is coming up, and you will be there. Now, when I first saw your stuff, it was at the Hall of Fame luncheon.
Yes.
Tremendous, just jaw-dropping right away. And you do all this stuff yourself here in Winnipeg?
We do. You know what? We do it out of our basement of our home. We're just a small home business, and that's what we do, and we love doing it, and we have a passion for it. So I'm just people won't be disappointed if they want to.
And I shouldn't say this, but it's not just for football.
Absolutely.
If you're a hockey player, basketball player,
correct. You know, we brought all football here today, but if people check out the website,
and rightly so.
Of course. And just another thing to mention is we do a lot of craft sales and sports shows. We're busy every weekend up until the middle of December. If people want to see our products in person, they can check our website. There's a list there of shows and craft sales and sports memorabilia shows that we'll be at coming up.
Tremendous. Clyde, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Clyde Raven from Raven's Custom Keepsakes. Too many S's. Raven's Custom Keepsakes. We'll be back. We're going to talk women's football right here on the Huddle. I'm going to say this right for the first time in my life. Community created on Shaw TV.
Pants, pants, pants. I am folding the pants. The pants are long. Do they go on my head? Do they? Do the pants go on my head? No. They go on.
Everyday moments can become teaching moments because learning starts long before school does. Give your child the start they need at bornlearning.org.
Hi, I'm Buck Pierce, and I love Winnipeg. That's why I support United Way. Together we can make our city safer and stronger. Every dollar of your donation goes straight into the community and none to fundraising and administration. Please join me. Get in the game and give today.
I touched the ball before it went out, Coach.
Alex, good call.
Sportsmanship. Pass it on.
It's the Huddle, Shaw TV. Scott Taylor with Tannis Wilson. Now, you may not know Tannis. A lot of people do. But Tannis Wilson runs everything. If it's women's football, you probably run it. Fearless, the Girls League, the Flag League.
And I helped start the Touch League years ago, too.
So let's start with the kids.
Sure.
Let's start right at the bottom. We want to get more girls, more women involved with football. Mm-hmm. We're not talking lingerie league here. This is real football with real pads and a real helmet and a real game of football.
Absolutely.
Tell us how you can get involved.
Well, it all depends. We basically have, anyone can be involved from age 8 to death. Our senior women's is 16 to death is what we call our age limit there. Because
of course.
Anyone that wants to play, I started playing at 40. I mean, I started the program when I was 39, and we played at 40. And that's the thing, is that we want people to recognize that if you've always had a passion or desire to play tackle football and haven't had the opportunity via your parents, or you didn't feel comfortable playing with the boys, that we now have opportunities from everyone from 8, which, I mean, the boys only start at 7, and a lot of the girls still play Terminator in the Manitoba Minor Football Association. Sure. But you can play against girls only from the age 8 for your entire career, and even play to world championships.
And that's a big step too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's a lot more comfortable.
Yep.
It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more social. And it brings me to the Fearless. Now, this is an interesting concept, and I'm really impressed by it. This isn't just a league where you fool around in Winnipeg. This is a league that plays right across Western Canada. The official name is the Western Women's Canadian Football League. So we're talking about a pretty big commitment, but a whole lot of fun.
Absolutely. You know, we were actually instrumental in creating the league because Alberta had 3 teams that they played kind of interprovincially and wanted to do something else, and we were kind of on an island of our own, and we really wanted to play against them. And it just happened to coincide with the World Championships in 2010. We went met in the middle in Saskatchewan. We'd done some exhibition games in Alberta, but we went and met in the middle in Saskatchewan because we wanted to make sure it was fair for everybody. And while we were there, we ended up bringing a couple of girls from Saskatchewan that had never been involved with football onto the national team. I was a defensive line coach on the national team, and so we brought them with us to the World Championships in Stockholm. And that kind of fostered some stuff in Saskatoon, and I'm very fortunate, as you mentioned, I know a lot of people in football, and Steve Mazurek, who is the VP for the Riders, I went and took him for dinner when I was in Regina and said, let's start a football team in Regina. So we ended up getting a team in Regina and then created the Western Women's Canadian Football League.
And the Regina team is remarkably successful.
The Regina team is good. It's Saskatoon that really is the Valkyries are a very good football team. I tell you right now, if they had been their team alone, had competed for Canada at the World Championships, we would have done better than we did. They are an absolutely amazing team. So
remarkable stuff. Now, if you're say you're a woman who just doesn't want to try the contact all that much, you have a place for them to play too?
We do. We have the Winnipeg Women's Flag Football League, and it's non-contact. It's a small field. It's fun. It's sociable. We just finished actually our championship game last weekend.
Great place for volleyball and basketball players.
Great place. Well, tackle is a better place for basketball. Volleyball is one of those non-contact where you're on the other side of the net, and we have lots of people. We've had some people that have been interested in tackle from volleyball, but basketball is really a great draw. That's how the Valkyries have done so well. They've drawn from basketball and hockey. That's their kind of, and they have a lot of university-age students. But for the Winnipeg Women's Flag Football League, we had a 15-year-old playing this year, and our oldest, I think, was 49.
Lots of opportunities if you want to play football.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to tackle football and women's tackle football, if you're 25, I know we're here to promote your club, which is Fearless, but there are 2 teams.
There are.
There's plenty of opportunity. It's not like if you look at one team and go, well, they've got a lot of good running backs, and I'd like to play running back, so I'll go play for the other team. There's opportunities to play.
That's not how women think, but. Sadly enough, that's not how women think. But, you know, it all really depends on our program's been around and established, and there is another program in the province. It's the Nomads Wolfpack is the name of the team. And it's a different organization. Originally, they had a lot of linemen. We're a little bit balanced. No, well, it was just like, but both teams are quite well balanced. We all had quite a few players last year. We're actually looking to start a team in Brandon. We're going out to Brandon to try and work. We have a team in Kelowna that's applied to come play to our league. We have 3 more teams in Alberta that are looking to come into our program. So next year we'll be bigger than the CFL.
Tremendous. We're going to talk again.
Perfect.
Tannis Wilson from the Fearless, the Touch League,
and the
Flag League, and the Manitoba Girls
Football Association. I'm no longer involved with Touch, by the way.
Okay.
I'm too old.
And on that note, we'll be back with the next segment right after this.
When you can't do it all, do what you can. Caring for others. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
It's the Huddle on Shaw TV, community created on Shaw TV, by the way. And we have a very special guest, one of the great football players in the province of Manitoba, out of Oak Park High School, and now, of course, with the University of Manitoba Bisons, Nic Demski. Thanks for dropping by.
No worries.
Tell us about the season so far. You're 3-3, but the offense has been able to score some points, and you're part of that offense.
Yeah, it's been a good season so far. Not necessarily record-wise, but the team's coming together for sure. Just, you know, have some mistakes here and there. Tough loss this last weekend. You know, it feels like we're a 5-1 team, but right now we're a 3-on-3 team. But we have a big game coming up this weekend to get into playoffs, and I'm pretty positive our team can get it done.
Now, I know you're excited about this team because offensively it's a team that has scored a lot of points and can score a lot of points. What is it essentially about this team that you like the best?
Just that we have so many athletes on this offense and on the team in general. A lot of people can make big plays, defense and offense. You know, we had a huge pick 6 by Ranji at Wall even last game, so it just shows Teague Sherman had a huge punt block for a touchdown last game too, so it just shows we can score the ball not only on offense but defense and special teams as well.
Personally, you were one of the great running backs I ever saw play high school football in this province. with the Bisons, you've caught a lot of passes. You've been used quite a lot as a receiver. What do you like better, running back or a little bit of slot back, inside receiver?
I like whatever position I get the ball in, basically. So I'm fine.
So get Nic Demski the ball. We have coming up now, you went out to UBC and started the season with a big win at UBC. The Saskatchewan teams have always been a problem for this team, but you proved in the 2 games you played out there, both in Regina and Saskatoon, that you can compete with those teams. What's the next step this team has to take?
Winning, plain and simple, just finishing a game.
Now, is that as much psychological, mental as it is physical for this team?
Well, that's kind of something Coach Dobie brought up. You know, they definitely outplayed us physically, but I guess in a mental way, yeah. We just have to go out there and win, just finish the job, basically.
But you have to start thinking about winning. This is a team that has enough athletes and plays well enough to win football games, and just hasn't been able to finish. And that strikes me as much psychological as anything else.
Well, yeah, it is psychological, but just like everybody's just really getting tired because you know, we're least in ball possession, so you know that doesn't really help our defense out that much, and they're usually the ones who are last out on the field. So, but it is in the mind too. You got to definitely have that winning attitude.
Okay, where does Nic Demski want to take football? How far do you want to go?
Take it as far as I can. I want to keep playing as long as I can.
Try playing the CFL?
Yeah, it's the goal.
Nic, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Nic Demski, a running back, sometimes slot back, sometimes even wide receiver, and certainly kick and punt returner because you have been Special Teams Player of the Week this year, so it's been a great season for you. Nic Demski from the University of Manitoba Bisons, still lots of games left on that schedule, and of course the playoffs coming up and the Bisons should be there. When we come back, we're going to talk to Bisons head coach Brian Dobie. We're going to get to the bottom of this 3-3 record. We'll do that when we come back on the Huddle here on Shaw TV.
Let's go, let's go! Oh! Great job. We got one play, so let's make this count.
I touched the ball before it went out, Coach.
Come on, Alex, the ref did not call that. It's the championship game.
I touched it. It's their ball.
Don't foul them when they inbound. Alex. Good call.
Sportsmanship. Pass it on.
Oh, this will be the best segment we have all year. I will ask a question, I will get up, I will go for coffee, and I will come back when Brian finishes answering. No, I'm being facetious, but not entirely. Brian Dobie, nice to see you.
Great to see you.
Brian Dobie, the head coach of the University of Manitoba Bisons, and I don't want to talk about your Bisons at all in this show.
No problem.
We're going to have you back for another segment in our next program, but I want to talk to you about university football, where it is today, where it's come from, because for me, it's one of the great entertainment values in this country. To go to a university football game, you see great football, it's not expensive, and I don't think enough people know how good Canadian college football is.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's an incredible entertainment package, and you look at the level of play.
And next year when you're in the big stadium.
Oh, it's anybody not coming to games, blasphemy. I'm telling you, next year it's that place is a palace. I was just in there yesterday, and it's so close right now. But you know, having said that, if you look at university football now, and you and I were talking before we went on air back when we played 143 years ago. It's
not even combined.
Not even combined. It's completely changed. It's very professional now. It's very professional in its entirety, in the approach to it. Recruiting, really, there wasn't real recruiting done until really the mid to late 90s. That's when recruiting started to take off. Then it became selective. You needed to fight to get on university football screens read, you know, just to get on their radar screens, to have a hope of being selected. Scholarships now have gone skyward, and the CIS is on the verge.
How many scholarship athletes do you have on your club?
Oh, we divide the money up differently. So a huge percent. I'd say two-thirds of roughly 85, 90 guys are on some sort of scholarship. The CIS is looking to increase that to become more, I hate to say it, NCAA-ish in its approach.
I understand why.
That's very much on the table right now, and I'm letting a little bit of a cat out of the bag there, but I think that's very, very close on the horizon. That will really up the ante. And you look at training. I mean, I asked a question a couple of years ago, how many guys in our program had personal trainers? And literally about 2/3 of them saw a personal trainer. You know, it's just, everything
20 years
is
ago,
so
that
different.
wouldn't be the case at all. There wouldn't be
didn't
any.
exist at all.
No.
Exactly. So
20 years ago, so few players actually worked out in the off season.
Oh, absolutely. You know, now if you're not, and you look at high school guys, you know, I was just talking to Kelsey McKay at Vincent Massey, and you know what they do in their program. If you're a high school football player now and you're not working out, you're not taking it relatively seriously, at least at that point in grade 11 and 12, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball, because there's hundreds, thousands of guys across the country that are working out and paying very much due diligence to that process. So coaching, you know, I look at guys on our staff, Stan Pierre, our defensive coordinator, you know, I think he could coordinate in the CFL given the appropriate opportunity and some building blocks that go with that.
Well, it's interesting now. People talk about how so-and-so at the college level in Canada make a great CFL coach.
Yeah.
And you look around and go, well, yeah, except that he'd have to take a pay cut to be a CFL coach.
Yeah, in some cases that's entirely true.
I mean, if you're a head football coach at a Canadian university, you're probably teaching as well. You have a great life.
Oh, you know, it's hard. It would be hard to give up a head coaching job in the CFL other than to become a head coach. In the CIS, it would be difficult to give that up with the pay, you know, that you get. That's changed the professionalism.
Sure.
The pay scales for head coaches and coordinators have gone up so much, even in the last 5 to 7 years, that it's a great job. It's a great life. You're on campus. What a wonderful place to be. Your life is working with 18 to 25-year-old you know, student athletes. It's exciting. It's a great experience. You know, and anybody that has a shot to become a student athlete, regardless of sport.
Absolutely.
I say this all the time when I'm recruiting. Do everything you can to make that happen. CIS football is an incredible experience. There's 29,000 students on the campus at University of Manitoba. There are 370 student athletes. You cannot buy that experience. You can only earn it. And it is an experience that is invaluable for the rest of your life.
It absolutely is. No question about it.
Yeah.
Brian, when you look at an athlete, when you go out to recruit somebody, do you give them the promise that you come to Manitoba, you're going to start, you're going to play forever? Or do you tell them the truth?
Oh.
How hard is it?
You know what?
To sit in somebody's living room and tell them the truth.
It's funny because you're sitting in certain living rooms. I'm thinking I was in BC 2 weekends ago during our bye week, and I could name a player right now. I'm not going to say his name. I would hand him a starting position, but you can't. Again, I just mentioned about earning things. The cream will rise to the top. If we sign that player, oh, he'll start for us. He'll start. He's just so good.
But you can't tell him that.
I can't tell him that, because what if I recruit somebody better than him? Or what if one of our veterans that wasn't a starter steps up and beats him out? And you know, the interesting part is, I think you look at, you try to be manipulative and you try to, you know, spin doctor things. You know, I think coaches do that all the time. Yet, unquestionably, the truth is absolute. Honesty is the best policy. Sincerity is the best policy. No question about it.
We have to go to a break.
Yeah.
Or we're not going to have any time in this show. We're going to pick it up next week. We're going to talk again in next week's show. We will be back to wrap it up this week on The Huddle.
Life is all about chances. Made, given, and taken. Chances missed. And chances that change everything. Chances to try, to fail, and then try again. Chances to grow, chances to change, chances to learn, teach, lead. Chances. It's all about what you do with them. Boys and Girls Clubs of Winnipeg. Donate. Check us out. Make the call.
I can't believe it's over. The Huddle's done for another week. Your buddy Demsky was pretty good.
Yeah, he's
sharp kid.
One of my favorite guys on the team.
And Brian Dobie, of course, you ask him one question, you got 7 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a great show again. Thanks to everybody, all of our guests, Clyde Raven, Dave Donaldson, who's going to be back a lot to ask the ref right here on the Huddle, Tannis Wilson, and women's football. It's getting bigger and better all the time. Nic Demski, thanks so much for coming. Of course, Brian Dobie, who is outstanding. We will be back next week. This is the Huddle, community created on Shaw TV.
The opinions expressed on the program you have just watched are not necessarily those of Shaw Cable Systems or of this station. Through our access policy, we provide the opportunity for community groups and individuals to express their points of view.